Hello Junior 3, our lesson today it's time to 5 minutes. So this is a clock, and in clock we have two hands, one short and one long. So the long one it's 4 minutes and the short one it's 4 hours. So this short 4 hour and this long one 4 minutes. So when that long hand 4 minutes moving from two number like 1 and 2, so it's a 5 minutes, and from 2 and 3 another 5 minutes, from 3 to 4 another 5 minutes, from 4 to 5 another 5 minutes, from 5 to 6 another 5 minutes. So now I can skip count by 5, so I skipping count from 1. So it's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. And when it's come back to 12, it will be 0 because she completed one turn. So Junior 3, you remember what is the 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35? Excellent, it's a table 5. So here I want to know what is the time. So I'm gonna start by the short hand. So the short hand here at 10 and the long hand here at 3. So let's see, 3 give us how many minutes? So here in 1 it will be 5 minutes, at 2 it's 10 minutes, at 3 it's 15. So the time in digital it will be 10 and 15 minutes. So if you want to say it by analog, it will be quarter past 10. It's a quarter past 10. So here what is the time? So we start by the short hand here at 10 and the long hand at 6. So let's say when the long hand at 6, it's how many minutes? So here in 1 it will be 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So when the long hand at 6 it's 30. So the time in digital it will be 10 and 30 minutes. If you want to say it by analog, it will be half past 10. Here the time. So the time now it's between the short hand here, it's between two numbers, it's between 10 and 11. So I'm gonna take the smaller number, so I'm gonna take 10. So the time now it will be 10 and how many minutes? So the long hand at 9. So if you skip count by 5, so the long hand when it's in 9 it will be 45 minutes. So it will be 10 and 45 minutes. So if you want to say it by analog, it will be it's a quarter to 11. Here you want to write the digital time for the following clock. So here the first one, we start by the short hand. So the short hand here at 2 and the long hand at 1. When it's in 1 it's a 5 minutes, so it's 2 and 5. Let's see here the next. So the next one, the short hand here, it's between 8 and 9. So we're gonna take the smaller, it will be 8. And the long hand here at 5. So when it's become at 5, so it will be 25 minutes. So the time in digital it will be 8 and 25 minutes. Let's see the next one here. Start by the short hand at 7 and the long hand at 2. So when it's become at 2, it will be how many minutes? It's 10. so the time it will be 7 and 10 minutes. Here the shorthand we start with, it would be 3 and 4, so we took the smaller number, the smaller it will be 3, and the long hand here at 10. So when it's become at 10, it's how many minutes? It's 50 minutes, so the time it will be 3 and 50 minutes. Here it's between 11 and 12, so you're gonna take the smaller number. The smaller number here is 11, and the long one at 9. So if you want to keep count by 5, so 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. So when it's in 9, it will be 45 minutes, so it will be 11 and 45. Here the shorthand at 7 and the long hand at 6. When it's become at 6, the long hand, it's 30 minutes, so it will be 7.5. Here the shorthand between 2 and 3, so you're gonna take the smaller number is 2, and the long one at 8. When it's become at 8, it's 40 minutes, so the time it will be 2 and 40 minutes. Here the smaller one at 3 and the big one at 12, so when it's become at 12, it's 0 minutes, so it will be 3 o'clock. This one here, it's between 8 and 9, so you gotta take the smaller, it's 8, and the big at 10. When it's become at 10, it's 50 minutes, so the time it will be 8 and 50 minutes. The next one here, it's between 12 and 1, so you will tell me you should take the smaller, so the smaller it will be 1, not junior 3. In this case, it's only case, it's exception, okay? We didn't took 1, we took 12, so it will be 12, and when it's become at 7, it's 35 minutes, so it's 12 and 35. The next here, the smaller at 11 and the greater at 3. When it's at 3, it's 15 minutes, so it will be 11 and 15 minutes. Here the smaller at 5 and the greater at 4. When the minute at 4, it will be 20 minutes, so it will be 5 and 20 minutes. Here it's between 3 and 4, so we're gonna take the smaller, it's 3, and the greater here at 10, it will be at 10 how many minutes? Yes, 50 minutes, so it will be 3 and 55, so it's not at 10, oh, it's at 11, sorry. When it's become at 11, so it's 55. Okay, here it's between 3 and 4, so you're gonna take the smaller at the 3 and the big here at 5, so when it's become at 5, it's 25 minutes, so the time now it will be 3 and 25 minutes. Here it's between 10 and 11, so you gotta take the smaller number. The smaller here is 10, and when the minute hand here at 8, so it's 40 minutes, so the time it will be 10 and 40 minutes. Here it's between 6 and 7, so you're gonna take the smaller, it's 6, and the big here at 9. When it's become at 9, it's 45 minutes, so the time it will be 6 and 45 minutes. So now we're gonna draw the two hands. So let's draw the two hands. So here the time it's 1 and 5 minutes. So this one 4 hours, and this 5 here we write the minutes. So 1 is the short hand for hour and 5 is the minute, so it's the long hand. So now we draw the long hand at 1 because it's 5 minutes, and the short also at 1 because it's 1 hour here. Here the next, at the hour we're gonna draw the shorthand here at 2 and the minute at 10. So which number gonna give us 10? Yes, it's a 2. So we're gonna draw the long hand at 2 and the shorthand also at 2. Here the time is 3 and 15 minutes. So just the shorthand it will be at 3 and the long hand at 15. So which one give us 15? So it's here 5, 10, 15. So it's at 3. So we're gonna draw the long hand here at 3 and the short hand also at 3. Here it's 4 and 20 minutes. So the short hand it will be at 4 and the long hand at 20 minutes. So which number from here? It's 20. Yes, it's 4. So the long hand at 4 and the short hand also at 4. Here it's 5. So the short hand at 5 and the long hand at 25. So when it's 25 minutes, so it's at 5. So the long hand at 5 and the short hand also at 5. Here it's 6 and 30 minutes. So the short hand at 6 and the long hand it's 30 minutes. So it's at 6 also. So the short and the long both at 6. Here the short hand at 7 and the long hand here it's 25 minutes. So when it's 25 minutes it's at 5. So we draw the long hand at 5 and the short hand at 7. Here 7 and 35. So when it's at 35 minutes, so it's at 7. So we're gonna draw the long hand at 7 and the hour here is 7, so the short hand also at 7. Here it's 8 and 40 minutes. When it's 40 minutes, so the long hand here at 8 and the hour here it's 8. So we gonna draw it between 8 and 9. Here it's 4 and 50 minutes. So 50 minutes, the long hand should be at, excellent, should be at 10. And here the hour is 4. So we don't draw it at 4, okay, we draw it between 3 and 4. Here it's 9 and 45 minutes. So the long hand 45, so it's at 9 and here the hour is 9. So it's between 9 and 10. So here 6 and 20 minutes. So the short hand at 6 and the long hand at 4. Now match each clock with the digital time. So here it's 8 and 45 minutes. So which one is 8 and 45 minutes? Okay, let's start by write the digital of each clock. So here it's the short one at 1, so the hour is 1, and the long here is at 4, so when it's at 4 it's 20 minutes. The next one here, the short at 10 and the long at 4. When it's become at 4 it's 20 minutes. Here in the third, the short one at 9, and the long hand here at 10, so it's 50 minutes. Here the short hand at 8 and the long hand at 9. When it's become at 9, it's 45 minutes. And here the short hand and the long at 3, so the short at 3, and when the long at 3, it's 15 minutes. So now let's match. Here it's 8 and 45, so we're gonna match 8 with 45 minutes. 3 and 15, so it's 3 and 15 minutes. 1 and 20 minutes, you're gonna match it together. 10 and 20 minutes. 9 and 50 minutes. Here we're gonna write the required time in digital. So here the time is 3 and the long at 6, so it's 30 minutes. So the time here is 3 and 30 minutes. So here he wants 5 minutes later. So later, so we're going forward. So let's going forward 5 minutes later with the long hand. So it will be at 7. When it's at 7, it's how many minutes? It's 35 minutes. So the time it will be 3 and 35 minutes. Okay, the next. Here the time it's between 12 and 1, so it's the exception. So we're gonna take the smaller, it's 12 here, so it will be 12 and the long hand at 9. So when it's become at 9, it's 45 minutes. So he wants 10 minute earlier, so we're going backwards. So let's going backward 10, so it's 5, 10. It will be at 7. So when the long hand at 7, it's 35 minutes. So the time it will be 12 and 35 minutes. Here the time it's between 10 and 11, so we're gonna take the smaller, it will be 10. And the long hand at 8. When it's become at 8, it's 40 minutes. So it's 8 and 40 minutes. So now he wants 20 minutes later. So we're going in later, we're going forward. So let's count forward the 20. So 5, 10, 15, 20. So it will be at 12. So the time it will be 11 o'clock. So now he wants 1 hour later. So we're gonna move the hand 4 hours, the short hand 1 hour later. So it will be from 11 to 12. So it will be at 12. And the minute hand at 5, it's still at 5. So when it's at 5, it's 25 minutes. So the time it will be 12 and 25 minutes. So here the time is 2 o'clock. He wants 30 minutes earlier, so we're going backward 30. So let's going backward to 30. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. It will be at 6. So the long hand it will be at 6, so it's 30 minutes. and the shorthand for hour, it will be going backward to be at 1. So the time it will be 1.5. Now he wants 15 minutes later, so we're going forward 15 minutes. So 5, 10, 15. So it will be at 10. When it's become at 10, it will be how many minutes? 50. And the shorthand here between 1 and 2, so we're gonna take the smaller, it's 1. So the time it will be 1 and 50 minutes. What number will the minute hand point to when it's 35 minutes? 35 minutes have passed, it will be the long hand at 7. What number will the minute hand point to when it's 5 minutes have passed? 5, so the long hand at 1. What number will the minute hand point to when it's 20 minutes have passed? 20 minutes have passed, so the long hand should be at 4. Excellent. What number will the minute hand point to when 60 minutes have passed? So the long hand should be at 12. What number will the minute hand point to when 45 minutes have passed? So the long hand should be at 9. Here your mom puts pizza in the oven at 7 o'clock. When she takes it out, the clock looks like this. So the time now, the short at 7, so it's 7, and the long at 6. When it's at 6, it's 30 minutes. So how many minutes did it take to finish the pizza? So we start at 7 o'clock and it's finished at 7.5. So how many minutes we took? 30 minutes. Here you leave school at 1 o'clock, and when you get home the clock looked like this. So the time now it's 1 and the long hand at 4. When it's at 4, it's 20 minutes. So we start at 1 o'clock and we wrote you get home at 1 and 20 minutes. So you took how many minutes? Yes, you took 20 minutes. Here Amal started cooking at 1 and 5 minutes. It must be cooked for 3 hours. So she started at 1 and 5 minutes and she cooked for 3 hours. So we're gonna add this 3 to the place for hour to 1, so it will be 4. So after 3 hours it will be 4 and the minute it's still the same. So the time it would, so it's a time it will be 4 and 5 minutes. So she finished at 4 and 5 minutes. So now I want to draw the two hands. So the short it will be at 4 and the long it will be at 1 and the short at 4. Now junior 3 we finish the clock. See you in the next session.